Hey guys! Welcome back to the ANN podcast.
I'm Addison Whitney.
And I'm Natalia Conte.
Bringing you the latest news on the sports world today.
So today our main focus is going to be basically talking about how each of our production skills developed as we created our magazines. And just as a recap, my magazine was a surfing magazine called Sunshine Surf.
And mine was a pickleball magazine called The Sport of Tomorrow. So I think the important thing to look at is how when we started creating the magazine, the biggest thing I think was just getting examples from other magazines and just having to put our own twist on it and get different ideas.
Yeah, I agree. For me, I would say before starting the project, I honestly had no idea how I would create the magazine, like what I would put on it. But after looking at inspiration in like other magazines, it gave me a way better idea of what to include. Even things like the type of colors, the type of font, like that different magazines use, it makes like a statement to really see how people like view your magazine. Like
how red can give off like a dangerous feel and yellow gives off happy, sunny feel.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that.
Exactly.
Also for me, like production skills, an important part was learning the correct way to use a camera for photography and like all the different programs. Mm-hmm. It definitely helped me to stay organized in my magazine.
Yeah. For me, I take a lot of photos, like that's something I'm really interested in. So that part came easy to me because I already knew what I was doing. But with things like the apps like Photoshop and having to use InDesign, it was kind of harder for me to have to learn, especially because there's a lot of people in our class that I feel like were in a yearbook class or have used the apps before, but they're very helpful in teaching me. So it made it a bit easier.
So to start off, I would say one of the biggest parts of learning how to do it was the research and planning aspect. I was able to use Google and Safari and look up like other magazines such as Sports Illustrated, which was a big inspiration for me when creating my magazine. It allowed me to explore and pay attention to details and conventions that you would see in a sports magazine specifically, since mine was about pickleball.
Yeah, for me, one of the magazines that gave me a lot of ideas was called Surf Girl. And especially because I wanted my main focus to be on like a girl surfer. My cover page is a girl surfer, and like Surf Girl had such cute parts of the magazine where you could tell like the magazine was made for a girly audience, like graphics and font, like things like that just made me like know, oh, that's her girl. And through this research, we were able to create like a solid plan that I could use for like the final product.
Yeah, and like for me, it was a little challenging at first, but after I learned from my peers and my teacher, I was able to do it well. I think the pictures came out really good and they were high quality. And like going back to the apps, I wasn't even planning on using Photoshop because I did need cutouts, but I had an easy way to do it. But my teacher challenged me and taught me how.
Yeah. Photoshop, like, it was hard for me to learn and, like, because I needed a lot of cutouts, too. Like, I was cutting out sunscreen, things like that. But, like, I would think to use, like, a different, like, an easier application. But, like, choosing, like, that harder option, Photoshop, like, the more professional option, like, it definitely challenged me and made my skills, like, increase. And it was cool to learn a new skill like that.
Yeah, and jumping back to the photography aspect, one of the most challenging parts was learning, like, how to direct people and finding people to be models and take pictures.
I fully agree with that because it can be challenging to, first of all, like, find the models and then for them to follow the directions and then get a set date that everybody can agree on. And things like, I know both of us did sports, so things like weather, like that type of thing where you can't control it is, like, super challenging to come across. And you have to, like, learn how to plan another day, like, think of other options. Like, even that with our, like, skills, like, I think that was a big skill that I learned, like, managing, like, directing people, like, things like that.
Yeah, so, like, this was a challenge, like, at first for me because, like, I had, like, issues, like, telling people what to do and, like, how to act during the pictures. But since I, like, did need a couple of photo shoots, like, by my last one, I had, like, a lot of practice with it and, like, was a lot better at, like, getting people to, like, follow my directions and, like, how to pose and, like, what would look best for the magazine.
I took my photos actually, like, a week before I started editing. So definitely if I did this again, I would plan better. And I would take my photos, like, I would have them done. So there's no curveballs with the weather or something like that. Or, like, if somebody couldn't show up, things like that. Luckily, my set date worked, but it almost didn't because last minute when I had to take the pictures, the friend that I was taking the pictures of canceled, but she ended up going, so it was fine. But I think this shows like the issues you can run into, and even as a professional, there's probably like not as many issues in the professional atmosphere, but things like that, when like something goes wrong, how are you going to react? Like, it really made me think of like second options, things that I can do better.
Yeah, I agree a lot because, like, both of us having a sports magazine, mine's very similar, like pickleball, because the weather determines a lot about, like, if the court is opened or how the pictures are going to come out with the lighting and stuff. So when I first started taking the pictures, some of them weren't turning out how I wanted, and being able to direct certain people to pose in a certain way was very important in getting the pictures I wanted, and they came out a lot better once I started actually directing the models.
Yeah, I agree. I took also like posed photos and like candid photos, but seeing like other surfing magazines and looking at that, like, it gave me inspiration for like how I want my person to pose. Like, I don't know if it was the same with you, where you like, yeah.
I would agree.
And overall, like, now I feel super confident in the fact that with the layouts and stuff, even like how to organize them, because I've never done that before. So organizing like where to put the pictures, where to put the font, the graphics, things like that, like, it was like scary in the beginning, but I think like it also helped me like seeing my classmates working and like getting ideas, and my teacher helping me. So like I'm confident in that now, and having my magazine done, like, I'm really happy with how it turned out. But just like asking for help, and like everybody was super nice about that, and the process takes time, so like just being patient and like having the outcome show.
Yeah, I agree. And as someone that's never been in a yearbook class before, using like the apps that everyone was using was kind of a challenge for me at first, like Photoshop and InDesign. I'd never used either of those before, so learning how to use all the settings and tools and like navigating the app was kind of rough at first. But after I was like shown by someone in my class and got like a basic idea of how to use it, I got like a lot more done, and my skills definitely developed a lot using the different apps and programs.
Instead of using Canva and stuff, how we use Photoshop, I just think like that itself shows like we're not taking the easy route. We're trying to do like the best we can and make our outcome the best. And like it was very helpful for editing the photos and changing the lighting, things like that. And also like making it aesthetically pleasing. Like the easy route would be like using Canva, like, but having to use InDesign to do that, it was like way harder. But with like practice and stuff like that, I think it like ended up turning out just as like I planned it in my head. And also, okay, the color scheme, when we're talking about that, I think it's important because in the beginning of the year we learned about how different colors give off different moods, and I really wanted to like give off like a beachy summer vibe. Like I didn't want to go for like a like winter vibe, stuff like that. So I had to think like what would give like summer, sunset, ocean. So I went with the pink and yellow, which I think represent like a sunset, which is like good, and it represents like a happy mood. And in the beginning, like with the survey and stuff, like I ended up changing my colors like from the survey that people originally answered. Like I ended up changing it. Like, did you also do that?
Yeah, like in the beginning I based a lot of my project on like the survey I did from my audience, and like the results that I got were not what I ultimately decided to use. So like, for example, in my survey I asked what they think the best color scheme would be, and a lot of the results were yellow and blue and red and pink. But when I actually started doing my magazine, I realized that none of those colors fit the vibe that I was going for, and like were cohesive with the pictures that I took. So I used a white and black detailing with teal and purple because those match my pictures the best.
Yeah, me too. I think I ended up changing a lot of the things the survey said just because, like, after I took the pictures and after I looked at everything on the page, like, I realized that, like, what would look better in this moment.
Yeah, like that's a big learning part is like not everything has to be told to you. You can make up a lot of the stuff like based on what looks best for your magazine. And I think the layout was also sort of challenging to create because although I did look at a lot of inspiration, I didn't want to do something like a copy and paste magazine of something I already saw online.
Yeah, I think so too. So creating like one of my own was like kind of a challenge at first, but like once I got into the routine of it, it created more things. Like it came out like a lot better. So I would say my double page spread was a lot better because I had more practice and things like that. But just like after you lay everything down, I think it's seeing it all put together just makes you feel like accomplished.
Yeah, I would agree that like my table of contents I would say was like not as good as my double page spread, just because like I hadn't had as much practice with like the app and stuff. So like developing my skills were like a huge part of like getting better throughout the magazine.
And also like putting your own twist on something, like you said, like you don't want to exactly like copy and paste like a magazine you saw. So like having that like creative mind, I think like my creativeness, like I had to step up my game. So like having those skills like definitely like made my magazine better. And it's also like to find like I said, like having an aesthetically pleasing like magazine, but like also making it fun and sporty, which like that's what I was going for, and that's what I hope I accomplished.
Yeah, and like when I made my table of contents page, like it was kind of challenging, but like I said before, like my skills like really developed from that, and it was like a big learning part. And like as for the actual story page, I say it was like easier for me just because as a person that likes to like write and like enjoys the like informative part of it more, it was easier to like compare to like the creative aspect, because I actually like forming my own magazine, but like the creative part was like kind of challenging for me compared to like actual content.
Yeah, I think it shows to go like different people are better with different things. That's why like in an actual publishing company of a magazine, like you have multiple people working on like multiple aspects of the magazine, even like things like proofreading. I think it's important that we have our classmates and teachers like proofread, like look at everything, give us like criticism, and so that we could all learn together and learn from our mistakes.
So overall, I would say that our skills definitely improved over the course of forming this magazine. I would say I learned a lot, and like if I were to have to create another magazine, I'd be a lot more confident now. Having the experience like really helped me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited to like in the future now work on things like this. Like I think it's super helpful even with school projects, like having like the access to things like InDesign and Photoshop. It's definitely going to increase my skills in the long run. And that's all for today.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed. Bye.
Bye.